Okay, so we're going to walk through how we would create a music video in DaVinci Resolve. So that's a free piece of software. Just to give you an idea, here's kind of a finished one that I created, and you can see it's got all the musicians lined up. There's some lyrics. Everything looks neat and tidy. So I'm going to walk you through how to create that using DaVinci Resolve. First steps are to download and install DaVinci Resolve. Also, you'll need a font called Aero Portal. That's what we're using. It's easier just to ask whoever asks you to do the video to get hold of it for you, because there's a few versions online, I think. And this isn't a complete guide to exactly how to do it in every situation. This is just a pointer to give you an idea. You kind of need to employ a little bit of artistic thinking, because every set of musicians or videos that you get given are all slightly different. Maybe, you know, they won't have framed their shots as well. They'll be pointing to directions. Their kind of lighting will be overexposed or underexposed. So you need to kind of experiment around and have a learn. So the broad process is that we take video clips from musicians. So if you look in my window on the right here, I've got 5 video clips: backing vocal, cajon, keys, lead and violin. We take those video clips, we don't use the audio from them. We have some pre-mixed audio that comes in separately in a WAV file. We use a thing called a mask overlay. So the one I'm going to use is this 4M Actions Big Circle Fade, and you can see what happens is this gives us the ability to lay 5 things out on screen, and then the grey portions are see-through and the white portions are opaque. So these are already created to help us kind of easily get a look and feel that fits. Maybe I'm going to have to zoom or crop some of the videos to have them fit properly. Next thing at the bottom is we're going to add in words so the congregation can sing along. And then once we're finished, we're going to deliver the clip. So that's the kind of the broad brushstrokes of what we're trying to achieve. So we're going to use DaVinci Resolve. It's free video editing software. What happens is the media files that you drag in, so these videos and the WAV file and the masks, are kept in the location that you drag them in from. And then the project that you create is stored in a kind of database. So you can export the database and send the files to someone else who should be able to recreate the video in the same way if you need to share it. You do need a fairly powerful computer, particularly when you've got multiple videos on the screen at once like we've got here. Okay, so let me create an untitled project. So double clicked on that. And what happens in the DaVinci interface is we've got these tabs along the bottom. So there's the media tab, cut and edit, which both allow you to kind of work on your clips. Fusion, which allows you to do advanced things like specific effects like kind of different shaped masks. The color tab, that's how you can make them brighter or less bright. Fairlight, which is about audio, we won't need to use that because we'll be using pre-mixed audio from elsewhere. And then there's a deliver tab, which allows you to output what you're doing. So kind of broadly speaking, you follow across from left to right. The first thing in the media tab is we've got this thing called a media pool. So I quite like to drag in my media from here. So I've got my videos and my WAV file selected. I'm going to drag those in. It says they've got a different frame rate from the project, so let's just change the project to match. And then we're going to pull in that big circle fade, which is the mask that I've used. But again, you might need to choose a different one depending on exactly what's happening in the video. So if I just hit play, you'll hear broadly what happens.
1, 2, 3, 4.
So there's a count 4 and then a clap. So each of the videos will have that clap on, and then there'll be a pause and the song will start. So what we need to do to line every video up is to find that clap. So the way we can do that is we choose the video. You can click on it down here, but actually I find clicking on it down there, and then sometimes it doesn't select correctly, and I still need to go up here and choose. So violin. So let's start with lead. Let's find where the clap is, and then I'm going to hit play. Right, I've stopped at the clap and I'm going to use my left arrow key on my keyboard now to come back to just before the clap, and then go use my right arrow key till I hit the clap. Then I'm going to press I on the keyboard, which sets an in point. I think you could probably do the same with mark in. So that sets an in point, and that says this is where this clip is going to begin. I'm going to do the same with the keyboard.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Okay, so just go back a couple of frames, and then just as he hits the key, I'm going to press I, and then you go through and basically do the same with each person. So that's there. Find the cajon one, and then hopefully there it appears. There was the clap, so let's find it. Okay, in, set the violin, set the in, I've done it on the lead. So the same situation with the WAV as well. Okay, so set the in. So now I've set ins on each of my videos, and you can see they've each got this little grey line towards the left. That shows me that the in point has been set. So what I'm going to do now, I've got all my media in, I've set my in points, and I'm going to create a timeline. So I'm going to right click and I'm going to do create new timeline. And then I want to have 3, 4, 5, 6 video tracks, including the mask, and then there's going to be one for the lyrics. So I'm going to choose 7 video tracks, and I'm going to use selected mark in and out. So using the selected mark in and out is going to make sure all the clips start at that in point. Great. So hopefully, if I head into my edit box, I can now see I've got my timeline. So I clicked on edit at the bottom. I don't know if that was clear. Clicked on edit, and I'm going to zoom out, and you can see I've got my keys, then my BV, then my cajon, then my violin, then my lead, and then there's the audio and the mask. I mean, it might be a bit of a novelty to have all the instruments one after the other, but really we need them together at the same time. So I'm going to drag, just resize that box, and then make sure that they're all on these separate video tracks. And then I'm going to zoom in to grab hold of the mask, because I'm actually going to need to click on the mask and then click on the edge. If I get near the edge, the cursor should change and I should be able to make it wider. Scroll across and find it again. There it is. So I should be able, there we are. So my cursor's changed, I can make it wider. And making it wider like that will make it a little bit easier for me to zoom out and grab hold of it and put it in the right place. Now, there is a method to this. Things that are nearer the top go on top. So for instance, if I move the mask down to be, or if I move Tom to be above the mask, you see you can no longer see the mask. So we need the mask to be on top. And then I know that I'm going to have to use some kind of circular thing to cut Tom off. And then I'm going to have everyone else sitting underneath him. So I've done it in this order for a specific reason. And then I'm going to make the audio section bigger. Drag the audio. Oops, I'll just change the volume of it. Just click on the audio and drag it. Try and get it onto, there we are, so audio 6. And then I'm just going to mute all of the other audios because I'm pretty confident I've got that right. If I wasn't confident, I could have a listen to their audio and see that it all matched up. Okay, so next, having dragged that in, I'm going to save. So file, save project, it's good practice, just in case everything goes wrong. Okay, so I've imported my media, set the endpoints, I've created the timeline, and I've arranged everything within the timeline. The next step is to kind of arrange the instruments how you want them. Now, Tom, the lead, is going to be the hardest. So what I'm going to do is just turn his video off. So on video 5, where we've got Tom, I guess probably I could change that to have a clearer name if I wanted, if it helped me. I'm going to click that little kind of slide button, which is going to mute his video. Having muted his video, I'm just going to move this red kind of head across to a point where people are playing so I can see what's going on better. And I'm going to give myself, if I can, a bit more space. There we are. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take Sian on the violin and I'm going to move and resize her clip. So if I click on her clip, you can see I've got this inspector window in the top right. If I didn't have that, then you can kind of click on inspector to turn it on and off. And the inspector is where we were able to do things like zooming in and out. So that's making her clip bigger and smaller. I can move it around with position. If I double click on crop, I can crop the clip if I need to as well. So I'm going to make Sian's clip a bit smaller. And then there's another thing I can do, which is in the bottom left of the preview window, there's this kind of square, and that gives you transform and crop options. It's set to transform currently. I'm going to click to enable that. And now I can move Sian round. Now this is where you need to be a little bit artistic with your thinking. I mean, I could put her on the right hand side, but actually that would mean she was looking out of the frame and it wouldn't make very good use of the space. Whereas if I have her on the left bottom, she's looking into the frame and the kind of shape of the area I've got available fits her violin pretty well. So that looks like a good option to me. I don't need to bother about cropping the edges because she's kind of fitting within, and I'm going to put Tom on top of this so that bit will be hidden anyway later. So that's Sian. Let's click on Cajon. Let's zoom Mark out a bit. Let's put him there. Don't want him too small because we won't be able to see what's going on. So this probably takes a bit of fiddling around with to get right. Then I'm going to take Leela BV, click on her, and then drag her over to here. I might zoom in a tiny bit on her just to make her face fill the frame a bit more. And then I'm going to take Mike, put him up there. I'm going to have to zoom out on him. Now you can see Leela is kind of taking up too much space. So I'm going to click back on Leela. I'm going to crop her, the top of her video to bring it down. That's right. I'm going to click back on Mike, zoom him out a bit more. Now, having done that, Mike is kind of looking towards the right a little bit. So it might be better if he was looking into the frame. So I'm going to swap him and Mark by putting him over there, clicking on Cajon, dragging Mark across. So now Mark's image is over the top of Leela's, so I could switch that around, but I'm just going to crop the bottom of Mark's image. That will have the same effect. Okay, so now I've got them all. Actually, I think Mike's needs to come left a bit to look neat, and maybe zoom in a bit. We don't need to see quite so much of the table. So this is the kind of artistic element. And there are a couple more quick tweaks I can do while I'm here, involving this color tab. So Mike's image is quite dark. I can make his lighter if I go to the color tab. I select Mike's image on the left, and then there's this color wheels option here. Along the bottom there's various things: camera raw, color match, color wheels, lots of things you can do. The only one I'm interested in here is increasing the gain. So I'm going to drag the gain of Mike's up. Again, I might want to just drag the video slider to put it somewhere sensible. Might just click on Mark, try reducing his a bit. I think it's a bit blown out, so there's not going to be all that much we can do. No, it doesn't really help. But I think Leela's could probably come down a touch. That's it, and then maybe Mike's up a little bit more. So it's just about kind of balancing, getting it to look roughly right. That's good. Okay, so I'm going to save again at this point. Okay, so the last thing I need to do in terms of getting people right is Tom. So I'm going to show Tom's back in again with that the kind of slideshow on and off button. I'm going to click on his clip and I'm going to drag him across. And then I think what I'm trying to achieve is I need a kind of circular crop on him. Now there isn't a circular crop tool in DaVinci. The way we do this is by using the Fusion tab. So I'm going to right click on Tom's clip and I'm going to say open in Fusion page. That's going to take me across to Fusion, and then you can see Fusion has this kind of flowchart thing where you've got media coming in and media going out. So Tom's media is coming in, and then we're seeing that little white dot means we're seeing what's kind of coming out. And if I click up in the top left here, there's an effects library. I can grab a mask, an ellipse mask. There are various different, like there's a polygon and a rectangle and a triangle, so you can do different shapes. I just need a simple ellipse. I'm going to drag that in and I'm going to connect it from the mask output of the ellipse to the mask in of my media. And you can immediately see in the preview that Tom is now a bit circular. I can click in the middle, drag this around, I can grab the edge, make it bigger and smaller. I think that's probably going to be about right. If I go back to my edit tab, then I need to move Tom round, make him a bit smaller, just kind of get him laid out roughly right. Okay, I'm going to hit save. So I can see as I scroll through, things are looking pretty good. Now, I'm going to zoom back in. Ideally here, I would hit play and see how everything looked. But I know that my laptop will really struggle with this, so I'm not going to do that. But that's the kind of video clip set. So the next step is to deal with the lyrics. Now, to do the lyrics, what we have to do is watch the video through and put text in when the lyrics come up on script or when the lyrics are sung. Now, the challenge with this is to do with your processor, because I can't hit play because it just won't work. So what I do instead is I hide all of the videos like we did with Tom's. I hide them all. So there's no video showing, and then I scroll back and I can see on the waveform where the start of the song is. And then the play and stop, there's a kind of shortcut. You can hit space and that does play or stop. So I'm going to hit space to play. And zoom in a bit. So that's Tom just about to sing. So I'm going to come back a bit. And what I want to do is I've got another video track at the top and I want to get some text into that video track. So we do that from the effects library up here. And you can see we've got various different effects like video transitions. I want a title and text. So I'm going to drag that in to there. And then I've got the lyrics, which I just Googled. I'm going to copy the lyrics of the first two lines. And then I'm going to click on the title. And then you can see we get, in the inspector, we get text and video. I'm going to paste my lyrics in. Next, what I'm going to do is choose the Aeroport tool font, make it bold, that's what we go for, and tracking to -10, which seems to roughly match what has been done before. I'm also going to decrease the size, and then if I go to the video tab of this, I can adjust my Y position to take it down there. Oops, I'm going to have to go back to text and change the colour. Generally, we seem to be going for a kind of dark grey, not completely black. So that looks pretty good. I'm going to hit the spacebar to make this play. That's where I want the words to change, so I'm going to drag this out to make it longer. Then I'm just going to click on it, copy, and then paste it. Now there is a trick here. I often find after I've been doing this for a while, paste doesn't work correctly, and you have to set an in point. So you have to click where you want to go, press the I key. You can see that set an in point, and then paste. And then at that point, I've found if I do that, that pasting works better. So I'm going to take the second line, or the next two lines, click on my second text, paste them in. So I'm going to check that it looks right. So that needs to go to about there. Something I noticed here, if I drag my kind of select back in, is it should have been centered. So I'm going to, in fact, what I'm going to do is select both of them. I'm going to hold the shift key, select them both, and center. So what you do is you go through putting all the lyrics in like that, and then you show all of the videos again. So that is, broadly speaking, how we put the videos together. The final step is to render them. Okay, so to render the video, what we do is we go to the Deliver tab, which is the far right tab. If I click on that, you can see it looks similar to what we've seen before. You're able to just scroll through and check you're happy with everything. And then in the top left, there are some render settings. And if you just click the YouTube one, that will give you 1920 by 1080 with H.264. You can give it a name and a location, add to the render queue, which puts it over to the right hand side once you've chosen a location for it to save to. So clicking add to render queue took it to the right hand side. Then you can click start render, and that'll take a little while. If you just want to render a smaller part, then you can set in and out points with I and O. So for instance, I might just want to verify that these lyrics are working correctly. So I could just click there, press I, scroll across a little bit, press O, and then change render change to be in and out range. So what I can do is then add that to the render queue instead, get rid of the first one, and you can see it'll just render that small amount so I can check. So if you're kind of not sure, that's worth doing, I think. And obviously something that is an absolute must do is to have a flick through the video once you're done. So here's one that I rendered earlier. So I'm going to open this, hit play. So let's just watch that again. I think those claps looked good. Yep, they looked good.
1, 2, 3, 4.
And then I'm just going to scroll forward to the lyrics. So I've got the lyrics starting just before he started singing, so people can see what they're going to sing before they sing it. And again, each of the changes should happen just before the actual lyric is sung. Now there's something interesting. If you were to watch this to the end, you can see as Tom starts introducing the next song, Shine's putting her violin down. So that looks a bit untidy. So that's where you would need to use a bit more creative thinking, maybe need to consult to see what the best thing is to do. I think probably we would need to cut to just a shot of Tom on his own, which would require a little bit more work in DaVinci. But I think if you've got something that's a bit more complicated like that, it's worth checking it out, getting in touch early to see what the right thing is to do. So if you want more help, there are a couple of resources. First is YouTube. There are loads and loads of YouTube videos describing pretty much everything that you could need to know about Resolve. And secondly, there's a very big PDF guide from the developers of Resolve, which you can fairly easily find. And if you kind of know what you want to know about, that's quite handy because you can search through. It's a pretty tricky read because it's very long.